Welcome to Groundbreaking, where consulting meets innovation.
Welcome everyone to Groundbreaking, where consulting meets innovation. My name is Sobh.
And I'm Peter Nabhan. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, Jad and I work for an engineering consulting firm called ECS. Groundbreaking is a new podcast that is geared towards the architecture, engineering, and construction industry, which is commonly referred to as the AEC industry. We will be interviewing thought leaders within our industry and providing them a platform to share their experiences and knowledge with you, our listeners.
Yes, and we are also hoping to reach students and young professionals that may be interested in learning more about entering the AEC industry. We are here today with Matthew Jacobson, Matt Robbins, and Caroline Ringler. We will let them introduce themselves momentarily, but first we wanted to give some info on what today's episode is all about. Today, we are going to be discussing advice for students and people entering the AEC industry, some ways to get your career started off right, and much more. So with that being said, Matthew, want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me on here. My name is Matthew Jacobson. I'm a civil analyst with Kimley Horn Associates in our Los Angeles office, working on ITS projects throughout Southern California. I am also the incoming chair for the Committee on Younger Members with the American Society of Civil Engineers, and I graduated with my civil engineering degree from Cal Poly Pomona.
Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today, and I appreciate you bringing in that wealth of perspective, being engaged with ASCE young members. So I want to give the space a little bit to Matt Robbins to introduce himself.
Thanks for having me. My name is Matt Robbins. I'm a subsidiary regional manager at ECS. I oversee our Austin, San Antonio, and Houston offices. I have a bachelor's degree from Texas A&M in civil engineering and a master's degree from the University of Texas at San Antonio, also in civil engineering. Thank you all for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. We're excited to have you on today, to impart your knowledge with our listeners. And last but certainly not least, Caroline, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. I'm Caroline Ringler. I'm an intern level 2 at ECS in our Greenville office. This is my second summer now with ECS, and I am finishing up my degree in civil engineering at Clemson.
That's fantastic, Caroline. Again, thanks everybody for joining us today. We're very thrilled to have you, all three of you. And I'm going to take this opportunity to dive right in. I'd like to start with you, Caroline, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So you're just telling us that you're still a student at Clemson and you've been an intern at ECS for about 2 years or 2 summers. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your journey and what have you learned throughout your internship?
Yeah, definitely. So far at my internship, last summer I spent a lot of time out in the field. This gave me a lot of hands-on experience to really apply what I had learned so far at Clemson. A lot of the stuff that we did in our labs in my civil engineering classes at Clemson, I got to apply out in the field, testing concrete, testing house lots. And then this summer, I've spent a lot of my time so far working on the geotech side and doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that happened in the lab or in the office. So I've gotten to write a lot of proposals, got to write a lot of reports, go out to sites and talk with drillers. So it's been very applicable and very interesting to me so far.
That's awesome that you're getting to finally, get that chance to apply what you're learning in the classroom to what you would be doing every day in the field. Kind of, pivoting a little bit, what do you think students should be looking for in a potential internship? Are there any, red or green flags that maybe they should be aware of when they're going through that process?
A few red flags I would be aware of are just companies that don't seem very invested in their interns. ECS has done a great job of really spending a lot of time to develop us. And right from the start, they felt like they really cared about us and our learning. So I would look out for that initially when searching for an internship.
So anything, Caroline, that strikes you as that could be a potential challenge while looking for internships for maybe some of your classmates that have had some less than optimal experiences?
Definitely. A lot of my classmates and myself previously in previous summers have had internships where it feels like you're kind of doing typical intern tasks, maybe organizing files or going to grab coffee, little things like that to help the office, but not actually apply any of the knowledge that you've learned in your classes. So it's great to make money, but you don't actually feel like you're advancing towards anything.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. It kind of brings me back to my days of interning. I've had some experiences where I had to be the latte guy, and I've also had some experiences where I learned a lot. So that's a very good point. So again, I really appreciate that you shared that with us, and with people trying to get a job post graduation, I want to switch the conversation on to you, Matt. Since you're a hiring manager, what is some of the things that you really look for in a candidate?
Yeah. So really, I'm honestly looking for folks who are a self-starter, whether they're interns or recently out of college, finding folks who can self-manage their own time, be proactive, because most of what they're going to do in our organization is skills that they're learning on the job, as Caroline mentioned. College is great; it gives you good baseline knowledge, but on-the-job training is really needed to make those next steps in our careers. And so a lot of times I'm looking for folks who come in willing to learn, willing to ask questions. That really helps me find the employees that really excel at ECS.
Yeah, there's definitely, some good things to look at for sure. And obviously you did say self-starter was a big thing that you're going to look at, but are there any other things too that may potentially deter you from a specific candidate, or maybe, sway your opinion and make them stand out in a good way?
Yeah, so I'll say not having any real world experience is a bit of a detractor when I'm looking at resumes. It's hard to gauge someone's work habits if you can't ask them what they've done or what they've liked or struggled with in a real world situation. Uh, College doesn't always translate to real world directly. Resumes that stand out are those that describe field lab or office experience in more detail, in whether it's internships or previous employment. I like seeing or being able to ask. I see you worked at company X as an intern. What did you learn while you were there? And getting some good feedback, because just that good interaction helps me really hone in on, did they really learn something, or as y'all mentioned previously, were you just the latte guy?
Yeah, that was me, Matt. It's a good segue to my question now. Is I appreciate you sharing with us that you look for folks that have a kind of an early self-starter type mentality. And I like that you can also gauge it throughout asking questions and learning if they've actually learned much from their internship or not. And let's say someone that was unfortunate, was not able to land a good internship, but also has that skill set. What would you give them for advice for them to be able to get an opportunity and start working in a company like ECS or others?
So describing leadership skills in an interview is very hard, especially for a young professional or intern. Once you're with an organization, a way of showing some of those leadership skills is to be, that self-starter, as I mentioned. Show me how you can get your assignments or assigned tasks done effectively, efficiently, and then being able to add tasks that are valuable to the organization without being micromanaged. That tells management that at least you're able to manage yourself, and then over time, you're likely to be given people, projects, or other roles to lead in the future. I also really recommend young professionals working on developing good communication skills early in your career. It's something that's not really emphasized enough in college. You have to remember that when you come into an organization, the organization's already running at full speed. So you need to come in ready to learn, take notes, ask questions. And if you need additional help, you have to communicate effectively and quickly to gain those skills to become proficient within that organization.
Yeah, those are definitely some great traits to have to start, developing yourself as a leader, being a self-starter in the workplace, and then having those time management skills for sure. So now we're going to throw it over to Matthew, get Matthew involved some. Can you talk to us about the importance of time management, especially early on in your career?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is one of my, really favorite topics to talk about for early career professionals. You've just graduated college, entering the workforce. That can be a really, difficult adjustment sometimes, and you're not really sure how to navigate that. But I think just working to find the balance of, work, family, friends, balancing that professional life. And I think what I've realized too, over my young career currently is that things will come in waves, and sometimes it's okay to prioritize work over friends because you're studying for your FE or your PE, and that might take a little bit more precedent than going out on the weekends. And then other times it's okay when family takes precedent because someone is sick or you need to be there for family weddings or different events, then that can take more precedent over work. And so I think kind of balancing those out and realizing there is a time and place for everything. And I think that's kind of what's really a hard adjustment is like up until this point, school has kind of been everything, and then kind of shifting gears into, what does the real world look like, and settling into that and kind of just being able to balance that out. But really understanding that there's a, time and place for everything. And as long as you can kind of balance out all those, then you'll be able to excel quickly.
No, I love how you spoke about the balance, and I think a lot of us are still working to find that balance. I mean, personally, I've been in the business for more than 10 years, and sometimes I still struggle finding that balance. But to again, Matthew, you and I have spoke a few times before, and you've shared your goals with me, and I really appreciate how you have very lofty goals for the future. And I was hoping if you were able to share how time management has allowed you to reach some of those goals, or maybe what are some of your future goals as well. Would love to learn more about that if possible.
Yeah, definitely. I talked about creating, that time and space for everything. So for me, that comes down to keeping a very detailed calendar and schedule. I always say to my friends, if it's not in the calendar, it doesn't exist. And that's just the reality of it. I mean, there's so much, going on in our day-to-day lives, whether that's work, family, or outside things. So, just making sure that you're able to set aside time for the things you want to, and for what's important to you. And for me currently, that is working towards my PE. So I have passed the 8 hour, but in California we require 2 additional exams. That's the seismic and surveying exam. So I'm taking one of those this month, and then another one the next month. So kind of again setting aside time and space to study for those after work. Might mean that I don't get to watch as much Netflix or YouTube as I would like, but that's just kind of that personal commitment that I'm taking at this time to advance my professional career.
That's awesome. I am horrible at using my calendar. I need to get significantly better at that. But Matthew, while you were in school, how do you think being a part of organizations and engaged in the ecosystem outside of the classroom, kind of helped you advance your education?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I was very involved with the American Society of Civil Engineers as a student, and then both now. So my local ASE chapter, got involved my freshman year, progressed through being president of our student chapter, and once I graduated, translated that role into the younger member group and being involved with the committee on younger members. But definitely getting involved and getting that experience and exposure outside of the classroom is really important. Both as a student, you get to see what's happening outside of the classroom in terms of labs or clubs or extracurriculars, but then once you graduate too, being involved with professional orgs kind of allows you to learn and grow different leadership skills and communication skills that you might not have the opportunity to have right away when you first start out. So if you're involved with an organization and you're running events, then you might be in charge of like a small budget and contacting attendees and following up and making sure that different social media posts are made and stuff like that. And all that ties hand in hand with as you progress technically and professionally in the workplace, whether you begin working on proposals and are understanding cost estimates, or you're putting together proposals and you need to understand graphics and marketing and how all those pieces and components tie together. So being involved definitely allows you to grow those skills in kind of a safe space where it's like low risk, high reward, and to where if you do events really well, you really develop those skills. And if you kind of struggle to create events or different things, then the risk isn't, as severe as it could be in the workplace. So it allows you to grow in a very comfortable setting, I would say.
Matthew, I love how you described transitioning on from leading events to the work that you do every single day. It's you're absolutely spot on. Just doing things at a lower risk level early on in your career, but being able to learn and see the bigger picture will help you tremendously as you develop with your career and the stakes are so high. And Matt, I want to switch this conversation back to you. You're in your mid career now. You've been in this industry for quite some time. If you take a moment to think about your career, what are some of the major things that have helped you become the subsidiary regional manager at ECS?
A lot of it started with learning the skills needed to succeed in the engineering world by continuing to learn, right? Those professional degrees and certifications are definitely the gateway to entry, but always willing to learn, staying active in professional organizations. I have worked in Texas Society of Professional Engineers for a number of years, echoing Matthew, staying organized and proactive with tasks, not doing some of the extracurriculars that maybe your friends and family may be doing to maybe devote a little more time to work. Also, not being afraid to speak up, developing ideas that help better the organization. Those are a couple things that have helped me stand out. But I'll say the number one thing that I really believe in is I'm always willing to try. Everyone makes mistakes, but if you don't try new things, you won't develop the necessary, critical thinking skills needed to excel in this industry. Experience goes much farther than your early education, and it takes time to gain that experience. But if you don't actually work at it, it takes even longer to gain that experience because you're willing to take on those challenges that help you develop.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very, very important point that you made there with, always continuing to learn. That's such a crucial thing for sure. Kind of taking it back a little bit for you, Matt, coming out of college, what were some of your biggest hurdles and, how did you overcome those?
Yeah. Honestly, it was my communication skills. I was an introverted guy. I didn't really realize or appreciate how much writing I would be doing in an engineering focused field. But jumping right into it early in my career, I was writing reports, emails. I had to talk to people at meetings and those professional organization events, as I mentioned. I quickly realized my introverted persona had to adapt and develop to be more effective in this field. And I honestly just overcame my fears by immersion therapy. I would attend every professional organization event I could, and I'd often volunteer for committees and board positions. It helped me really develop, and most people who know me professionally wouldn't really consider me an introverted person nowadays.
So I met Matt Robbins about a year ago in San Antonio, and I would have never thought you were an introvert, Matt. Here's a funny thing. I as well was very much introverted coming out of school. So it's essentially like a muscle, and you continue to work it, and you continue to be better. It's about making some mistakes, obviously at low risk, and just continue to try. And you learn so much by doing. You learn a lot more by doing than you learn in school. That's for sure. Matt, something that I always seek is I seek mentorship advice from people that have done this before me, or even people who are younger than me, just to be able to relate my knowledge to different generations and just to be able to get advice from people. Have you had that throughout your career? Have you had some mentorship support?
I have. I was very lucky early in my career. I had a couple of really great mentors, and one was a senior engineer, and the other was a geotechnical department head. They kind of diverged. One was really helped focus on the engineering groundwork. Got me to where I am today. Then the department head really helped me learn some of the management skills that I've developed over time. The biggest thing is they both took time out of their busy schedules to allow me to bug them with questions, and I soaked it up like a sponge. But yes, mentors, I'll say, are a big key to my success.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough as well to have some great mentors, whether they be, marketing professionals or even being here at ECS, some engineers that have kind of taught me some of the ins and outs of what it is that we do. So that way I can be better at my job. So with that, for somebody who might be seeking out a mentor, what are some of the key qualities that you think they should be looking for in that mentor?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you have to realize that mentors may not always seek you out. In our professional world, we're pretty busy. So they don't typically know what you don't know. So you have to use those communication skills to express where you may fall short, where you're needing guidance, and ask for that help. And a good mentor will pick up on those cues and pick up that you're wanting to learn, and they'll take you under their wing. So my biggest thing is be persistent. The first mentor that may get in front of you may not be the right mentor. And it doesn't mean you only have to have one. You can have multiple mentors in different aspects of your career that help you grow and develop over time.
So what it sounds like that you're saying, Matt, is it's about being open to receiving mentorship, being open to connecting with people, especially early on in your career. You're essentially becoming a sponge. You're trying to absorb all the knowledge around you so you can develop yourself and you can fast track your career development. So I'm going to take the conversation back to you, Matthew. Does networking play a big role in your life? How has it been supportive for your career, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes, absolutely. I think my favorite thing to tell people is to always network. You never know where a connection will lead or a new, relationship will form. And definitely those relationships and connections can help open doors for you, beyond what you can even imagine. And I think being able to form those relationships, especially in school, you never know, where someone's going to start their career or might transition their career, whether that's public, private, different agencies and stuff like that. So I've had the opportunity to meet, I think, a decent amount of people in my early career and, have kind of used those connections to, gain insight on different ideas or ways of doing things, or just having others to bounce ideas off of, either personally or professionally. Being able to connect with those people all started with networking.
That's great stuff. I'm definitely going to have to be taking some notes here because much like the calendar, I'm just starting to get into the networking side of things nowadays for sure. We're going to throw it over to you, Caroline. So after kind of hearing some of the things from Matt and Matthew, what sort of additional advice would you be, willing to impart on college students that might be preparing for internships?
Kind of touching on what both Matt and Matthew said, I think networking is hugely important. Really seeking out those opportunities because it's not easy. There's not a lot of open opportunities just waiting for you, as it may seem for a lot of engineering students. And really just putting your foot forward into anything possible and really leaning on those mentors that are there to help guide you through those processes.
That's very cool, Caroline. I think you've done 2 internships now, so you have a little bit of experience. Looking at your maybe classmates or folks at Clemson who are younger than you, what would you advise them on getting an internship, or how many internships do you think they should have?
I don't think there's a set number. I think it's really the experience that matters. I think definitely getting an internship is important so you can get a taste for what you would like to do in the future, and also to look promising to other future jobs when you do get out of the workforce. But I would suggest to definitely just put your foot in and don't get discouraged. So many people have come to me that are younger and say, I've applied to 10 different places, 15 different places, and I can't find anything. And I would just say, don't get discouraged. Keep trying, keep pushing, and just keep reaching out to people and trying to make those connections with other career mentors, or reaching out to teachers. A lot of teachers have a lot of opportunities that are available, whether that be research or other job connections. So I'd reach out to them too.
I like that. Not putting a threshold on how much experience you can get before you graduate college is definitely, valuable stuff. So like with your internships that you've had, obviously you've been here with ECS for two summers now. Um, how did you find your internships? Whether it was ECS or anywhere else. Did you have like a career center on your campus that you went to? Was it networking events? Was it, any other resources like a teacher? How did you find them?
Specifically ECS, I saw it just through hours of research on Google, looking at what was available, different jobs, LinkedIn, that kind of thing. For past internships, my freshman summer, I worked an internship solely through a connection I had with one of my close friends' dads. I reached out to him and asked if he had any internship opportunities available, and he created a role for me. I was very fortunate in that aspect. But I would have never known that had I not reached out. And then my sophomore year summer, I did research under a professor because I reached out to her and asked if she had any available opportunities, and she took me in for that summer. So definitely just seeking out all routes possible.
That's absolutely true, Caroline. And it sounds like if you're looking for an internship, you can go on Google, you can go meet people, you can speak with your professors, network on LinkedIn. Maybe there's a lot of ways where you can seek out opportunities and hopefully join the industry and join the space. So it's good to hear that there's a support system for a lot of the students graduating. So I want to, again, I think we're getting close to the end of our episode today. I want to thank all of you for sharing some of your journey and giving us some advice. And before we wrap up, we want to ask you one last question. This is a question we ask of everybody that joins the podcast. Are you up for it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds good. All right. I'm going to start with Matthew. It's the same question for everybody. Can you tell us something about something in your life that has been groundbreaking?
Sure. So every year around June and July, our company does promotions. So I was recently promoted effective July 1 to what's equivalent to an engineer 3 position. So that's really exciting. It comes with, a few extra responsibilities, but I'm really excited to take those on and kind of look forward to continuing to grow and develop my professional career.
Matt, you're up next.
Groundbreaking moment for me was really the culmination of a lot of the things we talked about today. Working on myself through my communication skills or interning during my college career, getting heavily involved in professional organizations. It all culminated a couple of years ago in me being selected as the Young Engineer of the Year in 2022 for the Texas Society of Professional Engineers for the Bexar County chapter. I never thought I would achieve such a high honor in my career, and it's really humbling and really, really groundbreaking for me.
Well, congratulations to the both of you, Matt and Matthew. That's a great promotion, Matthew, and Matt. That's a phenomenal award. I'm happy to hear that you received that award a couple of years ago. Now I want to see Caroline. What has been groundbreaking for you?
So being still very early on in my career life, I don't have many groundbreaking specific moments, but something definitely groundbreaking for me was having younger students start to come and ask me questions and kind of reaching that position in college, at least, where I felt like I was becoming a mentor to younger future engineers.
Good stuff. That's definitely some groundbreaking things that everybody's got going on. So with that, thank you, Matthew, Matt, and Caroline for your time today and your insights. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And thanks for listening to Groundbreaking, where consulting meets innovation.
This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only. Nothing herein shall be construed as providing professional engineering services or used to establish the standard of care. This podcast and the comments contained therein represent only the personal views of the participants and do not reflect those of ECS. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors.